day, beautiful people. Today, we will take a look at your specific gravity in this particular lecture. Please note that the volume of urine that is excreted, as well as the concentration of the solutes present in the urine, are actually uh, are actually altered, or they varies. Okay, and so due to the function of your kidney, due to the concentrating function of your kidney. And yes, it is done by your kidneys to maintain homeostasis, okay, or balance of body fluid and electrolytes inside the body. Please note that specific gravity as well as osmolality. We learned about osmolality last time. Okay, please note that specific gravity and measurement of osmolality reflect the relative degree of concentration of a urine sample. Again, measurement of your specific gravity as well as the osmolality of the urine sample reflects the relative degree of concentration of a urine. Okay, and yes, this since it reflects, okay, then measurement of your specific gravity and osmolality will help in evaluating the concentrating function or concentrating abilities of the kidneys. Okay, so yeah. When we see osmolality, that is the number of particles per kilogram of solution. And when you say osmolarity, again, osmolarity, that is the number of particles, number of solutes per liter of a solution. Again, when you say osmolality, that is the number of solutes or number of particles per kilogram of solution, while osmolarity is the number of solutes or number of particles per liter of a solution. And please note that both your specific gravity and your osmolality, they are reliable indicators of hydration, or they are indicators of the concentration of dissolved material in the urine. By the way, what is your specific gravity? Your specific gravity is the density of a solution compared with the density of similar volume of water at the same temperature. Again, when you say specific gravity, okay, it is the density of a solution compared with the density of similar volume of water at the same temperature. And yes, as what we said earlier, your specific gravity, okay, and so it has the ability to evaluate the concentrating function of the kidneys. Okay, your specific gravity is determined to evaluate the kidney's ability to selectively reabsorb essential substances and water from the filtrate. And yes, okay, and so it also detects possible dehydration of abnormalities in antidiuretic hormone. Okay, it can also be utilized, of course. Okay, so and also specific gravity is affected by both number and size of particles in a solution. Yes, please note, because your specific gravity of of the specimen or of the urine sample indicates the relative proportions of dissolved solid components to a total volume of sample. Okay, and so meaning it is affected by both the number and size of the particles in a solution. Why? Again, because your specific gravity reflects the density of a specimen. Okay, and so it reflects the density of the specimen. Okay, and so accordingly, of course, if the molecular weight of the substance is greater, then of course it is more denser. Okay, that is why number and size of particles in a solution affects your specific gravity. Okay, and so again, specific gravity reflects the density, again, so of a solution. Okay, While of course, osmolality, okay, osmolality indicates the number of particles of solute per unit of solution. It is not affected in osmolality. It is not affected by the size of the particle or by the molecular weight of the particle. But then of course, both of them, specific gravity and osmolality, if i-try po natin idagdag your uh, color, okay, all of them are indicators of the concentration of dissolved material in the urine. You have here your major contributors to urine specific gravity. Major contributors to urine specific gravity. You have your chloride. Okay, chloride, sodium chloride, sorry. It is sodium chloride. Okay, and so approximately 25%. Urea is 20%, and then sulfate, phosphates, they are the major contributors to your urine specific gravity. Again, please note po ha, it is sodium chloride, the salt sodium chloride. Okay, and then urea, sulfate, and phosphate. These are the major contributors to urine specific gravity. Before we move on, let's take a look first at your some important values about your specific gravity here. The normal kidneys produces a urine that ranges from 1.003 to 1.035. Okay, the normal kidneys produce a urine that has a specific gravity of 1.003 to 1.035. Please note, in the new edition of Strassinger, in the new edition of Strassinger, it says there that it is 1.002 to 1.035. 1.002 to 1.035. But then, kay Henry's, hindi, hindi po. It states that it is 1.003 normal kidneys produces a specific gravity of 1.003 to 1.035. In the previous editions of Strass, it is 1.003 pa rin po. Okay, and so but then the new edition, it is 1.002. Anyway, if the specific gravity of the urine is greater than 1.035, then it may be because of extravenous pyelogram. Extravenous pyelogram, or yes, there is. Okay, and so you underwent imaging somewhat, and you were administered they administered a radiographic contrast media sa'yo. Okay, and so once excreted, it will cause an elevated urine specific gravity. But then of course, once cleared, okay, once this radiographic contrast media is cleared by your system, okay, your specific gravity will return to its normal one. Okay, and so what else? Plasma expanders will cause specific gravity that is greater than 1.03. Example, your dextran. Yeah, dextran. Okay, this is a plasma expander. Of course, it will also cause increased specific gravity. It's the same pa rin po if the dextran is finally cleared of, if all of the dextran is finally cleared by your body, okay, the what you call this, the specific gravity of your urine will return to its normal, I mean to its absolute value, or to its normal one. Okay, and yes, please note, there is what you call as isostenuria here. Okay, and so there is what you call as isostenuria. Okay, and so isostenuria, the specific gravity of the urine is fixed at 1.010. Fixed. Okay, and so you keep on repeating it, it will still give you 1.010. Okay, and so repeat sample, okay, another sample, and still 1.010, then it is isostenuria. Okay, and yes, it is seen in severe renal disease or end-stage renal disease, because of course in these cases your kidneys has already failed to concentrate your urine. By the way, before I forget, please note that for a random urine, the specific gravity ranges from 1.015 to 1.035. For a random urine, 1.015 to 1.035. Okay, and then you have a hyposthenuria. Hyposthenuria, okay, the specific gravity is less than 1.010. It's less than 1.010. And probably it is caused by diabetes insipidus. Okay, usually for your diabetes insipidus, it can reach as low as 1.001. Okay, yes, hypostenuria, it's less than 1.010, seen in diabetes insipidus. Pyelonephritis, and glomerulonephritis. And then hypersinuria. Hypersinuria, the specific gravity is greater than 1.010, and yes, it is seen in cases of dehydration, adrenal insufficiency, and so in relation to antidiuretic hormone, in relation to aldosterone, and then hepatic disease. These are causes of your hyperstenoric urine. Okay, and so the urine is greater than 1 point. The specific gravity of the urine is greater than 1.010. Okay, so let's take a look at your direct methods in measuring specific gravity. Please note, we will not anymore take a look at your osmolality here. Okay, and so please note, we will not anymore take a look at your osmolality because somewhat when I lectured about when I lectured about uh yes, when I lectured about the colligative properties of your urine, I somewhat lectured also on your osmolality. Anyway, okay, you have here your direct methods in measuring your specific gravity. Your urinometer, okay, please note for the purpose of, okay, for the purpose of history, okay, so yes, because urinometer is not anymore utilized today. Okay, your urinometer, please note that it requires 10 to 15 milliliters of urine. Urinometer requires 10 to 15 ml of urine, and this is actually the major disadvantage of your urinometer. It is actually the major disadvantage because, again, so it is the volume is it requires a large volume of urine. And yes, okay, and so the calibration temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, and yes, you need to correct. Okay, and so temperatures that uh, uh, that are beyond 20. Okay, and so urine temperatures that are beyond 20, you need to correct. Okay, you need the corrections. Okay, and so in case temperature correction, because of course calibration should be at 20 degrees Celsius, testing should be done at 20 degrees. Okay, and so samples should be within 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, so temperature corrections, how are you going to do this? Please subtract 0.001 for every 3 degrees Celsius that the sample temperature is below 20. Okay, and so if the sample is below 20, you subtract 0.001 for every 3 degrees Celsius. Okay, and so let's say for example, okay, you have 20 minus 3, it's 17, tama? Okay, let's say for example, the temperature of your sample is 17. Okay, the temperature of your sample is 17. Okay, the temperature of your sample is 17, so it is lower than the needed temperature. So what will you do? You subtract 0.001 for every 3. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 20 lang. Okay, and so of course, you subtract 1. Okay, 0.001 lang. Okay, and so because sabi niya, every 3 degrees Celsius that the sample temperature is below 20 degrees Celsius. If 3 degrees Celsius above the sample temperature, then you also need to do a correction, a temperature correction. You subtract 0.001. Okay, and so for every 3 degrees lower, or for every 3 degrees higher than 20 degrees Celsius, then you subtract 0.001 specific gravity. Okay, what about okay, and so for glucose and proteins, there are corrections for solutes present because again, in urinometer, it uh it is influenced. Okay, and so or in urinometer or in specific gravity, you need to, I mean, it is affected by, or in your specific gravity is affected by the number of solutes and the size of the solutes present. So if there are what do you call this? So if there are more proteins in the urine, then it will have more specific gravity. Anyway, because again, or in molecular size, it is affected by, or yes, it is affected by molecular size and molecular weight of the sample or of the substance dissolved. Okay, so for glucose, you subtract 0.004 for every 1 gram per dl that is present. So again, please note that for glucose, you subtract 0.004 for every 1 gram of glucose per dl present in the urine sample. Okay. For protein, you subtract 0.003 for every 1 gram per dl of protein present in the urine sample. Again, for glucose, you subtract 0.004 per 1 gram per dl, and the protein you subtract 0.003 per 1 gram per dl. Okay, per 1 gram per dl of protein. Okay? But then, if suppose you are using urinometer, how are you going to distinguish this 1 gram per dl content or 1 gram per dl protein content of your sample? Of course, this time you need to just check your reagent strip. Okay, and so check your reagents. Okay, and so if it tested positive for glucose or for protein, and then look at the grading, and if it really needs correction, if the reading has reached 1 gram, or yes, 1 gram per dl, then that is the time that you will do correction. Okay, your urinometer setup. This is a urinometer setup. Of course, you have the stem, or yes, let's take a look here. You have the stem here. It is calibrated. Okay, calibrated. Of course, the stem, this is where you're going to read the specific gravity. Okay, and so place a check. Okay, and so it starts at 1.000. Okay, and then yes. Okay, next reading is 1.010, of course. You have 1.001 and the rest. And then, of course, you have the float and then the weight. Okay, please note again that your urinometer, it requires about 10 to 15. Okay, and so 15 ml of urine. Okay, it requires 15 ml of urine. And yes, the urinometer is inserted into the cylinder with a spinning motion to make sure that it will float freely. Please note, avoid touching. Okay, the hydrometer should not touch, okay, the sides of the cylinder. Okay, it should float freely. Okay, again, when reading the urinometer, be sure that it is not touching the sides or the bottom of the cylinder. And then, of course, avoid bubbles because bubbles will obscure the meniscus. Okay, bubbles will obscure the meniscus. And yes, in reading, you read at the bottom. Okay, and so at the lower meniscus, you read at the lower meniscus. Okay, that is for urinometer. I guess let's practice. You compute for the corrected urine specific gravity. Okay, and so using urinometer, you have urine specimen. Okay, and the rest. Okay, and so you try. Temperature is it's 26 degrees Celsius. Okay, and the following. Okay, and so you try doing this one. up your harmonic oscillation densitometry. This one is based on the principle that the frequency of a sound wave entering a solution changes in proportion to the density of the solution. Okay, again, okay, frequency of a sound wave entering a solution changes in a proportion to the density of a solution. Okay, so in this case, your harmonic oscillation densitometry determines the specific gravity of a solution by measuring how the vibrating probe changes its oscillation. Because of course, in this one, it has a vibrating probe. In this densitometry, in harmonic oscillation densitometry, the specific gravity is determined by measuring how a vibration probe changes its oscillation when immersed in a fluid. So in this case, in harmonic oscillation densitometry, denser liquids will slow down the vibration. Okay, denser liquids will slow down the vibration accordingly. Okay, please note that in harmonic oscillation densitometry, results are linear up to a specific gravity of 1.0 80. Okay. By the way, harmonic oscillation densitometry is incorporated in early automated specimens. Early automated instruments or machines, but then it was replaced by reagent strip. It was replaced by reagent strip. Refractometer, please note that it measures the refractive index to determine the concentration of dissolved particles. So, by the way, what is your refractive index? Your refractive index here is a measure of how much light slows down and bends when it enters a substance from air. Again, your refractive index is a measure of how much light slows down from air. Slows down and bends when it enters a substance from air. Okay, and so because what happens here is when light passes from air going into a liquid sample, the light will slow down and it will bend. And the bending is expressed into a refractive index. Okay, again, when light passes from air going into a liquid sample, it slows down and bends. The light will slow down and bend, and the bending of the light is expressed into a refractive index. Okay? So in refractometer, the refractive index changes depending on how many dissolved particles that are present in a solution. Okay? And yes, please note that what you call this, if there is, if the light slows down, there is higher refractive index. Okay, if the light does not slow down, or yes, or if the light, okay, and so entering a solution does not really slow down, then there is a lower refractive index. Again, if the light slows down, or if it slows down, then it has a higher refractive index. If the light does not slow down, it has a lower refractive index. So, in refractometer, when a light enters a medium with more particles, or yes, with more particles present in the solution, it will interact with those particles and the light will slow down. It will slow down. Okay, and yes, the refractometer will automatically convert the refractive index into a specific gravity. Okay, it will convert the specific gravity it will convert the refractive index into a specific gravity. So in the context of urine, okay, if there is more solids or more dissolved particles present in the urine, okay, there will be more bending, okay, of light. There is a higher refractive index. Okay, there will be more bending of light. Okay, there will be more slowing of light, causing a higher refractive index. And higher refractive index means higher specific gravity. Higher refractive index means higher specific gravity. Okay, but then please note that comparing your refractometer from your urinometer, refractometer does not require 15 ml of urine. You only need the drop, okay, 2 drops, 1 to 2 drops of urine, okay, for your refractometer. Okay, it requires a small volume of urine sample and temperature corrections are not necessary. Okay, because in urinometer, temperature corrections are required. Okay, but then corrections for glucose and protein is required still. Okay, it is required. Glucose correction still subtract 0.004 for every 1 gram per dl of glucose. For protein, you subtract 0.003 for every 1 gram per dl of protein. Okay? And so, yes, by the way, your temperature compensations in refractometer, okay, it is compensated between 15 to 38 degrees Celsius. It is compensated between 15 to 38. So if the urine temperature is below 15, then you need to correct. But then, of course, okay, if that is from the refrigerator, you need to return it to room temperature before testing. Okay, and yes, the reading is 0.002 for refractometer. The reading is 0.002 lower than urinometer. Okay, so calibration. What about calibration here? Calibration distilled water is at 1.000. 5% sodium chloride is 1.022 plus or minus 1 point, I mean, calibration for distilled water is 1.000. Okay, and then 5% sodium chloride is utilized to calibrate refractometer, and the reading should be at 1.022. Sorry, so 5% sodium chloride. The reading should be 1.022 plus or minus 0.001. Sorry. And then if you use 9% sucrose, 9% sucrose as use it to calibrate, then the reading should be 1.034 plus or minus 0.001. Okay, 1.49% sucrose, the reading should be 1.034 plus or minus 0.001. Okay, and then after calibration, of course, yeah, okay, after calibration, you do your testing. Okay, and so after calibration, you do the testing. The specific gravity of your urine using the refractometer, first is you need to clean the surfaces of the cover and the prism with a distilled water and a damp cloth. Okay, of course, you need to allow them to dry. After that, you close the cover. Okay, and so hold horizontally and apply a drop of urine at the notch bottom of the cover. Or you can put 1 or 2 drops of sample directly onto the prism. Or again, you can put 1 or 2 drops of sample directly onto the prism and close the daylight plate gently. Close the cover. I mean, yes, replace the cover. And yes, okay, please note that the sample must spread all over the prism surface. There should be no bubbles. Okay, and so this one is the correct one. Okay, and so this one you redo. Okay, you reapply or you put another drop of urine. Okay, and then after that, you point the instrument toward a light source. Okay, and so point the instrument toward a light source first before you read. Okay, and so point the instrument toward a light source at an angle that gives optimal contrast, of course, and then rotate the eyepiece until the scale is in focus. Okay, and so there is actually, you can focus this one actually. Okay, if it is blurry, okay, you can rotate the eyepiece until the scale is in focus. And then, of course, read directly on the specific gravity scale. the sharp dividing, specific gravity scale, the sharp dividing line between light and dark contrast. This is your dark contrast. Of course, this is your light contrast. The dividing line, the sharp dividing line between your light and dark contrast. Okay, and so yes, that is how you do your what you call this. That is how you do your reading, your specific gravity reading using refractometry. But then please note that, yes, you should repeat the entire procedure with the second drop of urine from the same sample. Again, you should redo, or the entire procedure should be repeated with the second drop of urine from the same sample. That is for your refractometry. Meter. Okay, and so yes, please note again, this is your prism, this is your eyepiece. Okay, and so you can rotate this one to what we call this, give a focus, a clear focus. Okay, and so yes, let's practice. Okay, compute for the corrected urine specific gravity. Okay, obtained using a refractometer. Accordingly, the urine specimen, the temperature is 17 degrees Celsius. Proteins, 1 milligram per dl, and the reading is 1.030. Okay, and the second one, temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, the protein reading is 1 gram per dl, and the specific gravity reading is 1.030. Of course, you try. Okay, yes, let's take a look at your reagent strip for specific gravity. Please note that, okay, and so this is a reagent strip, an example on illustration of a reagent strip utilized in urine analysis. Please note that in the reagent strip test, or the reagent strip method for specific gravity, okay, the pad, okay, and so please note that a reagent strip, it has pads, okay, and so these are pads, okay, one, this is a pad, this is a reagent strip pad, 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 okay. Please note that the pad for specific gravity, it has three main components. Again, the pad for specific gravity has three main components. And what are these? You have the one is a polyelectrolyte. Number two is an indicator substance. Yes, an indicator. And then a buffer. Okay, again, three main ingredients or main components of your reagent, the reagent pad for specific gravity, polyelectrolyte, indicator substance, and a buffer. Okay, and so yes, let's again the reagent strip method for urine-specific gravity. The reaction is based on the change in pKa, or change in acid dissociation constant. It is the reaction is based on the acid dissociation constant, or change in the pKa. Okay, so what happens here? When the ionic concentration is high, what does that mean? If there is more ions dissolved in the sample, the acid dissociation constant, or the pKa, is decreased. Uh, if the pKa is decreased, if the pKa is decreased, the pH is decreased also. Okay, pakitandaan po. If there is high ion concentration in the sample, what happens in the acid dissociation constant? Okay, it will decrease. As well as the pH is decreased. Okay, so let's take a look at this. The polyelectrolyte ionizes. Okay, and so the polyelectrolyte that is present in the reagent pad will ionize, releasing more hydrogen ions, or releasing hydrogen ions in proportion to the number of ions in the urine. okay, in proportion to the number of ions in the urine. And the higher the concentration of urine, the higher the ions present in the urine, the more hydrogen ions are released, thereby lowering the pH, thereby lowering the pH of the reagent pad. Okay, lowering the pH of the reagent pad, not the urine sample mismo. Okay, the higher the concentration of the urine, the more hydrogen ions are released from the polyelectrolyte, thereby lowering the pH. And yes, the indicator then changes its color relative to the ionic concentration, which is related to specific gravity. It is, yes. Okay, so let's take a look. From thymol blue, this is the indicator that is embedded in the reagent pad. Bromthymol blue is embedded on the reagent pad and it measures the change in pH. It measures the change in pH accordingly because please note again that if more ions are present in the urine sample, the polyelectrolyte will ionize to release hydrogen ions. So, okay, increase ions in the urine sample, more the polyelectrolyte will release more hydrogen ions. It will release more hydrogen ions. It will release more hydrogen ions, thereby lowering the pH of the reagent pad, thereby lowering the pH. It will lower the pH. And yes, this pH is detected by the reagent strip indicator by bromthymol blue. Okay, so what happens? Bromthymol blue, it change from blue, the bromthymol blue embedded will change from blue if the pH is alkaline, and through shades of green, and then to yellow if the pH is acidic. Okay, if the pH is alkaline, if the pH detected is alkaline, then it is translated into a specific gravity as such. If goes to yellow, then it is 1.030. Please note still, it is an indirect measure of specific gravity. Okay, the what they call this again, the embedded color indicator measures the change in pH. Okay, it measures the change in pH. If there is more, okay, please note, if there is more ions present, okay, more hydrogen ions are released, okay, and more hydrogen ions are released, thereby causing a decrease in the pH sa reagent pad. And this one is detected by or it is measured by the bromthymol blue. And yes, okay, and so color changes will indicate color changes will indicate the specific gravity of the sample. If the specific gravity of the if the color change is yellow, if the color is yellow, then it is 1.030, or it is, yes, if it will remain blue, then it has a low specific gravity. Okay, and so yes, okay, and so specific gravity using reagent strip is not affected by glucose, by protein or radiographic contrast media. Okay, it is not affected by glucose, protein, or radiographic contrast media because the polyelectrolyte is specific to ions. Okay, it is specific to your ions. Okay, and so false increased readings seen in high amount of protein. False increased readings is seen in high amount of protein, and false decreased seen in highly alkaline urine pH, or seen in highly alkaline urine. Okay, and so false decreased readings is seen in highly alkaline urine. Okay, and so yes, the highly alkaline urine will what we call this will interfere with the bromthymol blue kasi. Okay, I hope you get it. That increased okay that increased in urine I mean increased in ion concentration of the urine will cause the polyelectrolyte that is embedded in the reagent pad to ionize and release more hydrogen ions. It will release more hydrogen ions in the reagent pad. It will release more hydrogen ions in the reagent pad, causing a decrease in pH in the reagent pad. It will cause a decreased pH in the reagent pad. Okay, and the pH is measured by your indicator. The pH is measured by your indicator. And yes, the pH is okay translated into a specific gravity. Okay, change in color. Okay, and so is translated into a specific gravity. If it remains blue, then the reagent, I mean if if the reagent pad remains blue, then it has a low specific gravity. If the reagent pad turns to yellow, then it will somewhat have a high specific gravity. Okay, again, it is not affected by glucose, protein, or radiographic contrast media. Let's take a look. Okay, and so this actually is a comparator block. Okay, and so comparator block for your reagent strip readings. Okay, and so yes, let's focus here on the specific gravity. Specific gravity, the reading time is, yes, you read after 45 seconds. Okay, you read after 45 seconds to allow for the reaction to take place. Okay, so how is this done? You dip, okay, and so you have the reagent strip, the strip, you dip it into your urine, and then after that, you blot. Okay, and so you blot, okay, to remove excess urine, and then you read after 45 seconds. You read after 45 seconds to allow for the reaction to take place. Okay, so you have here, sabi natin earlier, you have the bromthymol blue as the color, and as the indicator embedded. So what happens? Okay, if the specific gravity or if the ions are low, if ions, okay, or if ionized substances are low in the urine, then it will remain this one. Okay, the color is close to blue. Okay, if the specific gravity or if the ions present in the urine is high, then it will give you a yellow color. Please don't forget that ionization, sorry, your high ion content of the urine will cause the polyelectrolyte to ionize and release more hydrogen ions. Okay? And so, saan manggagaling yung hydrogen ions? It comes from the polyelectrolyte that is embedded in the reagent pad. It will release more hydrogen ions, causing a decrease in the pH, causing a decrease in the pH of the reagent, causing a decrease in the pH of the reagent pad. And this decrease in the pH, okay, will cause, or it is red, or decrease in the pH will cause the change in color. It will cause the change in color of your color indicator embedded in the reagent pad. Okay, and so which is your bromthymol blue. If the pH is alkaline, okay, then it will remain blue. If the pH of the reagent pad then is acidic, then it will turn into shades of through shades of green, through shades of yellow. That is why high or yes, highly alkaline urine samples, okay, will cause a false decrease, okay, in specific gravity reading for reagent strip. Okay po. So that is your specific gravity urine, or this, that is your determination of your specific gravity sa ihe. So, yes, in case of specific gravity, let's take a look again at your diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus. Both of these, they exhibit polyuria, or they exhibit increased urine output. Both of them, they have a pale urine. Both have pale urine. In case of specific gravity, diabetes insipidus has low specific gravity. Diabetes mellitus has high specific gravity. Okay, and so DI, it has a low specific gravity and will test negative for glucose. In case of DM, it has high specific gravity and will test positive for glucose. Okay? Okay, okay. We will end here. Okay, this has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, laugh often, keep learning, and never forget to enjoy the ride. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you around.